Hello, good morning, everyone. How are you? Or good afternoon or good evening, I should say, depending on where you are dialing in from. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. And we're going to be talking about ensuring AI compliance and navigating a lot of the AI regulations. I'm sure many of you have heard some of the new ones that are coming up, and regulations and governance are probably top of mind, particularly with generative AI coming on. So perfect time. We have an open Q&A. So as you have questions, please type them in the Q&A chat. We want to have a really nice dialogue with you. I have two experts here with me that I am really happy to have as part of this conversation. Before we do get started, though, a bit of housekeeping that I just want to go through with you. We are recording the event for you. It will be made available to you all afterwards. So keep that in mind. If you would like to share this recording out with other colleagues as well, you will have that. The other thing is, of course, we have to have a legal disclaimer. We're talking about rules and regulations and governance. And so we are not lawyers. There are a lot of legal nuances when it comes to regulation. And we do want to make sure that you're understanding that a lot of this is not legal advice. You should be reaching out to your actual legal counsel in-house when it comes to AI in general. And you should want to make sure that you're adhering and talking through some of these processes with them. So with that, let's get started. As I said, I have two fabulous experts with me. I have Belen Hidalgo. She is our senior data scientist here at DataRobot, heavily invested in a lot of our AI regulations, AI ethics, AI responsible acts. She also works hand in hand with a lot of our major clients, both in highly regulated industries, such as financial services institutions, as well as smaller organizations who are just starting on their AI journey. I also have Ming-Li Gradel on the call with us. She is our Director of Data Science, based actually in EMEA. So she is very familiar with a lot of the EU AI Act that is coming to place. She works very much hand in hand with a lot of our organizations out there as well to build really strong operating principles and practices and really help them accelerate their time to value with AI. And I'm Elise Aguilar. I'm our host for today. So what we're going to be talking about a little bit is setting the stands for what are the critical governance foundations that you actually need to have in place, and why are these so critical for you? And it's a good rule of thumb to take a look at some of these new regulations and use them as a bit of a barometer for what you're currently doing today. These are just the start of new regulations. We're going to dive into a couple of them. So UK, US, EU, but there are new ones that are coming up all the time. So establishing a strong sense of where regulations are heading, and then breaking down some of those EU AI regulations. And a lot of that, what we're going to showcase and talk through there is just best practices that you're going to want to put in place with your AI lifecycle in general. And then we're going to do a bit of a demo to show you how we can help you do that. And of course, we have our Q&A. We'll chat as we go along as well. So when it comes to actually proper governance and adhering to regulations, or to actually just have strong observability and governance in your organization, it doesn't have to be around regulations. But setting up this posture is going to do two things, especially if you're establishing it early. One, you're going to have a solid foundation. So as regulations start to come online, your AI initiatives aren't going to get tipped off of balance. And we look at it in a couple of different ways. So that's Swiss cheese. If it's not coming through very clearly, Swiss cheese has a lot of holes. But as you layer up different defense lines, you should be able to catch and prevent any threats or any governance breaches or issues that you're having along your AI lifecycle. And that really begins first with your business line. And what do I mean by your business line? I mean the data scientists or the AI teams that are dedicated to actually servicing the business users. So that includes your chief finance officers or your chief marketing officers or anyone else who's in charge of the business organization. You want to make sure that when you have a tight partnership between those two, to make sure that there are certain things like sensitive data isn't out there. So for example, HR data, you want to make sure that the use cases are appropriately built and that the people who have access to those use cases are the right people who should be accessing that information. And that requires a tight communication and tight collaboration with your data and AI teams, as well as your business users. Once you have that, it's really good hygiene to actually have some risk management or some governance policies put in place. And this is really about auditing the model, especially as you're trying to scale AI. Scaling AI often requires actually bringing in different user profiles who may not be as tuned to some of the best practices or security practices that need to be embedded within your machine learning models or your AI projects. Having risk management in there is a really great aspect for you to be able to, one, evaluate, but two, control who can actually put models into production. You have some testing, you have some auditing that's part of that. And then the third thing is an actual internal audit. So being able to take a look at, once these models are in production, who's accessing them? What are they doing? When was the last time they were updated? What is the version control? Can you roll back? And that will help give you a very strong foundation for adhering to regulatory and security requirements. So what does a good modern flow look like? Well, a lot of the cornerstone for building that sound AI governance, as well as that sound regulatory adherence requirements, actually takes, you have to look at your entire AI lifecycle. So everything from how you are handling the data with feature engineering, to creating the models, to how you're testing the models, to really standardizing how you're documenting how the models were created. And that documentation has to be readable in human language. If it's not going to actually help you explain to your business users or explain to regulatory bodies that you need to comply with exactly what's happened, why did you test it in the way that you did. So there's a lot of standardization that can happen here. Then there's getting your inference data ready, validating your models, and then there's, of course, about getting it out into production. So the model registry is that baton pass off between your AI teams and sometimes your DevOps teams or your ML engineers to make sure that that model is getting to exactly where it needs to get to, which is fundamentally the hands of business users who they can use it to make decisions. And a part of that process, there's a lot of checkpoints that you need to have as well. But once that model is deployed, what we see a lot of times is organizations are a bit of set it and forget it, right? Well, that's not really a super impactful AI use case. That all goes away with generative AI. As we know, there is a lot that has to be managed in generative AI. So if generative AI is part of your future initiative, you have to have a strong baseline of this already with predictive. If you're weak on any one of these spots already when it comes to predictive AI, you are really opening yourself up to a lot of risk when it comes to generative and being able to effectively maintain it, control it, and govern it. And then once you have all of your models in production, of course, it's about continuous improvement. You want to make sure that they're staying compliant. For an example, that your models, if you're in healthcare, aren't all of a sudden treating a certain population or demographic differently because they just never have seen that data before. So in DataRobot's lens, a strong governance platform really has to be set on the cornerstones of having deep ML ops and AI observability as part of it, as well as true visibility along the build part. All right, with that, let me pass this on over to Ming Li to talk about the AI regulations.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We'll go through an AI regulation overview. So with the imminent AI regulation, the stakes are very high for organizations to ensure compliance. We're going to examine together 3 of the most influential regulatory frameworks and their impact on the business. You can go to the next slide. So first, the United Kingdom. There's currently a national AI regulation that is defined as pro-innovation oriented. They're describing 5 principles that are guiding the development of responsible AI. You have safety, security, and robustness, transparency and explainability, fairness, accountability and governance, and contestability. And additionally, 2 research bodies have also been implemented, focusing on the private sector and on public interest. Next. So now the United States. They're keeping pace with the regulatory measures. First, at the federal level, the current administration signed an executive order promoting the use of safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. And there are other legislative proposals that are in the table, including the Data Protection and Privacy Law, the AI Labeling Act, and the Algorithmic Accountability Act. Now, on the state level, there are also influential initiatives such as the New York Law 144 that is governing algorithmic employment decision, the California Privacy Law, and also the Washington, D.C. Stop Discrimination by Algorithm Act. And last but not least, the EU Act is the most comprehensive law applied to AI at the moment. The EU Parliament approved the Artificial Intelligence Act on Wednesday, March 13, so it was 2 weeks ago. And in this legislation, it's defining 4 risk levels for AI use cases. It's also setting the boundaries of what is acceptable and what is prohibited, and it's defining sanctions and fines. But something quite important is that historically, the sectors that were mainly regulated were the bank and the insurance. This legislation is going to apply to all industries. And as part of the use case levels, we have the high risk and the general purpose that we will see in detail later. And you'll have specific requirements for this use case. You'll have transparency and explicit disclosure, robust data governance paired with human oversight. You'll have to provide detailed technical documentation and also do record keeping, assurance of system performance and security, and comprehensive dissemination of training content summaries. This legislation is going to apply to all the companies that have activity on the EU space. So we can go to the next slide. We've reviewed at a high level 3 of the most influential regulatory framework. Of course, there's many more AI initiatives that are under development across the globe. And the EU Act is just opening the door for all these legislation. But AI legislation in general are guided by the same global trusted and responsible AI principle that are captured in these 3 frameworks. So as an illustration, we'll go and do a deeper dive into the EU Act, so you have an idea of how it can also translate to other regulations. Next slide. Thank you. So as I explained, we have 4 risk levels that are defined for each of the use case. You'll have the unacceptable risk, then high risk use case, limited and minimal risk. So as part of the unacceptable risk, the legislation is defining social scoring as prohibited. You also have exploitation of vulnerabilities. So here you can think, for example, of children being a vulnerable population. And if you have toys embedding AI, you should ensure that it's not influencing any opinion. You have also the use cases that are related to biometrics, such as real-time remote biometrics identification, emotion recognition, also biometric categorization, and untargeted scrapping of internet and CCTV for facial images. All of these will become unacceptable in a few months. If we go to this, the next level, so if we go to the next slide, on the high risk. So the high risk use cases are also defined in the legislation. These are the use cases that will be associated, for example, with critical infrastructures. So here you can think of the utilities like electricity, water, gas, heating, road traffic types of use case. You also have the use cases that are related to education, employment, worker management. You have use cases that are under the government services, such as the one touching justice, law enforcement, migration, asylum, border control. And last but not least, you will have also the use cases that are defined as access to essential services, so public assistance benefit, credit evaluation that falls under banking, emergency to first response services that would be under healthcare, and pricing in life and health insurance as well. So now that we've seen the different risk level, the question is, when is this going to be implemented? You can go to the next slide. So there are different timelines. The first one is in 6 months, around October 24. It will apply on the unacceptable and prohibited AI practice that will be completely forbidden on the EU space. So this is the first step. The second step is in 12 months, approximately around April 25. This is when general purpose AI obligation will come into place with the associated penalties. In 26, we'll have remaining obligation on high-risk use case and general transparency requirements. And after 36 months, obligation for AI system being a product of safety components. But for the companies that have high-risk use case, most of the work on the documentation, on providing the requirements will be on the next 12 months. And if we go to the next slide, actually, when you look at the high-risk use case, in terms of the requirement, the legislation is very detailed. But at a high level, you will have to produce content, documentation, analysis around high-quality data set. You should ensure that your models are robust. You should highlight the accuracy, also embedded in a cybersecurity environment. Companies will have to provide a very detailed technical documentation that will describe how the model have been built, how the data looks like, how it's going to be implemented in your system, and so on. You should have human oversights on the AI system for the high-risk use case. So, for example, when it was built. And once the AI goes in production, you should also have a strong monitoring with a documentation around the way the models are monitored. All of this, you also will have an environment with a risk management system, quality management system, provide conformity assessment, and also the relevant information to the users. And lastly, your high-risk use case should also be registered on the EU AI database. So this is basically showing you how it will implement for the EU. But the takeaway is quite clear. In general, the AI regulation will check the development of AI operations. Organizations will have to learn how to navigate on this new environment with extensive compliance demands. They will undergo audits. They must be able to clearly explain how AI systems are working. And proactively, they also should adopt AI development practice to address issues such as bias and fairness. If organizations don't comply with this requirement, they can face severe consequences, including the suspension of AI system that can lead, for example, to missed market opportunities, but consequent fines. In the EU, it can reach up to 35 million euro or 7% of your EU turnover. And in the US, it's up to 4% of your revenue for every incident. Next slide. So now that we've seen how it translates in the regulations, we will see with Lisa how DataRobot can help you.
Yes, thank you, Mingli. We're getting a lot of great questions from you all in the background in the chat. We will definitely answer them as we get to our live chat session. I know one of the ones that keeps getting asked is the slide deck and the presentation going to be shared? Yes, it will. But we love all these great questions, particularly around generative AI, large language models, foundation models, and then the types of use cases, whether you're North America based or not. These are great. We will have a very good dialogue here at the end. But just to level set on who DataRobot is. So DataRobot is a unified system of intelligence. So think of us sitting between your system of record and your system of engagement. So all the applications in which you need to get AI. And what we help you do is help you have clear, transparent view on how to build, operate, and govern both your predictive or generative AI. So there was an example in here of what about foundation models using your own data, if it's healthcare data. With DataRobot, you're going to be able to actually be able to build really high quality RAG models, test and evaluate them, have the full visibility on what's going with them, do prompt tracing all the way to use cases, and be able to actually monitor and measure those with AI observability. So that's just one small example. The biggest difference with DataRobot, it is a unified journey. It is not a set of point tools, which will make it much easier to comply with all of the lists that Mingli called out. The other thing is it's quite composable. So nothing in it is actually set. So when you look at the demo from Belen, there is a lot of customization aspects, but they'll still help you adhere to the regulations. And then a lot of this is eliminating that infrastructure barrier and then making sure that it's not closed wall for you, that it is open and portable so that you can get it to use any of the foundation models that you want or build any type of predictive AI application. So I said we have 3 components of our platform: build, govern, and operate. as we talked about, being able to do the entire life cycle. So it's extremely important that you can actually do the project pass-through effectively from build into your governance aspect, particularly with these new regulations coming up. You have strong measures in place, strong testing and pass-off. And then again, when you operate, and if things aren't performing exactly, you have to be able to go right back into build. And this is where DataRobot can help. But let me pass this on to Belen to talk through more of these regulations in a bit more detail.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. And let's delve into how we can assist in aligning with the various aspects of the AI regulations, especially those that Ming Lee outlined before for the EU AI Act, as a reference, once again, since all of them are aligned with global standards for trustworthy AI. So I'll be covering high-quality data sets, robustness, accuracy, and cybersecurity, technical documentation, human oversight, monitoring, and risk and quality management system. But please note that I will not be discussing conformity assessments, providing information to users, or registering with authorities, as these are this will need direct action from AI system deployers. Let's go to the next slide, please. So for high quality data sets, DataRobot helps ensure your data meets the regulation highest standards for quality and governance. It helps you prepare, validate, and manage your data sets to remove errors, address biases, and make sure that they are complete and relevant. This helps in making AI-ready data that complies with regulations and drive actionable outcomes. Let's go to the next one to talk about how DataRobot also enhances AI systems robustness, accuracy, and protection. As you will see in the demo that I will be doing follow up this section, it provides tools and services like model comparison, accuracy optimization, guard models, and security measures to ensure that your AI systems are protected, compliant, and operating effectively. When it comes to technical documentation, with DataRobot, you will be able to create compliance documentation. This becomes very easier with the platform. It offers automated and custom templates and deployment reports that document your AI system's performance, compliance, ensuring they meet all the regulatory standards. And for human oversight, DataRobot offers as well features that allow for effective human oversight for your AI systems, including access control, approval workflows, citations, and human feedback. This helps really ensure AI operates within intended parameters and decisions can be made with confidence. The next aspect is monitoring, and DataRobot really supports continuous monitoring of AI systems to ensure they comply with the EU AI Act and other regulations. You're not only able to manage your deployments, but to monitor them through key metrics like service health, drift, cost tracking, and much more, all of which help you stay informed about systems health and compliance. I have my puppy knocking on my door. What a terrible time. So risk management system. For risk management, DataRobot provides comprehensive support for identifying, analyzing, and mitigating risk in AI systems. Our platform ensures safety, reliability, and compliance with EU standards through continuous risk management. And then for quality management system, DataRobot really helps you develop a quality management system that is also going to comply with regulation. This includes detailed logging, ensuring your AI systems are managed effectively. Last but not least, we have several services that can support your compliance journey, from impact assessments to tailored service packages to access to AI experts that are specialized in risk management, governance, and much more. With that, let me take over the screen because I'm going to be going through a demo. And I'll show you how all these different features work. So let me share my screen here. Can I get a thumbs up if other panelists are seeing them? Awesome.
Looking good, then.
Awesome. Okay. So let me show you how DataRobot technology can exactly support your people and support the development and enhancement of your governance processes so that you can comply with these key dimensions of AI regulations. Now, at DataRobot, we are building generative and predictive AI solutions. So I will focus first on how we are covering these key EU AI Act dimensions for generative AI and then for predictive AI. Now, remember that while today I will be showing our GUI experience, you can replicate all of these through our code-first experience in DataRobot integrated notebooks or via our API clients in the environment of your preference. A quickly guidance of what I'm going to be doing for this demo. I'm going to be covering functionality along our workbench, which really help you prepare data, build models, and organize assets in one place. I'll also cover registry, where you can manage and govern AI assets in a collaborative workspace. And then finally, in the console, you will see that I'm going to be able to monitor and manage models in production that really helps with support scalable AI. With that, let's start with generative AI. So let me go here to Workbench. And this is how DataRobot can really help customers comply with high-quality data sets on their generative AI workflows. So in Workbench, I'm gonna go to Vector Database Builders. But first of all, what I have done here is in this onboarding use case, I have uploaded a zip file that contains a set of key HR documents for onboarding new employees, such as employee handbooks and any policies for external communication, social media, etc. And what I'm going to do is go to the Vector Database Builder. And vector databases really enhance the accuracy of generative AI workflows beyond what is achievable with only a foundational model. This also improves the likelihood of obtaining accurate outcomes as they provide essential grounding data for every prompt that is submitted. So this is crucial as it gives customers confidence in the precision and veracity of their generative AI solution. And as you can see here, DataRobot is equipped with a host of functionalities and parameters so that you can tailor your vector databases by setting up different chunking parameters, and you have different embeddings that you can leverage. All of these would normally take a lot of coding to set up, and folks that might be less technical might not be able to do it at all. But with DataRobot, that is no longer a problem. Now, when it comes to robustness and accuracy, here is how DataRobot can help. Let me go to this interactive playground, because this really offers a space to test and refine different large language models and vector databases, providing a foundation for response accuracy. So when creating a blueprint here, you will have accessible out-of-the-box LLMs from OpenAI, Google, AWS, and more. All of this is going to require not additional effort, such as credential acquisition. So this barrier-free environment really allows users to adjust generative AI blueprints with parameters like temperature, prompts, and it really enables side-by-side blueprint comparison for an intuitive selection process. Furthermore, you can also bring your own custom model or database, and then you can use the very same functionality on Playground with them. So when you go to deployment also, all these relevant parameters that have been tuned here are transferable very seamlessly to the console. Now, let me talk about guard models. I'll go quickly to model directory over here. And let me search for them so that I can show you what they are. So in model directory, you're going to have all these available guard models. The selection keeps growing. These are models that we have selected from Hugging Face, which we believe can really help when setting up safe, effective, and accurate Gen AI workflows. We have prompt injection, toxicity, sentiment classifier, refusal score, and we're adding more all the time. These models are easy to integrate through through model workshops, and in this way, when you are integrating them, you can really add these guard models on the prompt or on the response. And then based on the particular score that is returned, you can go and decide how your model should actually respond given a particular score. So let me give you an example to help you understand how this can help. Let's say that there's a good chance that someone is trying to trick your AI by feeding it misleading information through prompt injection. So you can step in and keep things secure. This also is going to save money because it stops people from overloading your AI deployment with unnecessary requests. So by using a special safeguard model like the prompt injection classifier here, you can catch these issues early on, which means you don't use up your AI resources on repeated or fake responses, and these make your AI deployment more reliable and reduces risks and costs. Going back to my workbench here and my playground, let me cover what the comparison tab over here does. This is going to allow you to compare up to 3 different Gen AI blueprints. So over here, users can really explore various prompt strategies and directly compare outcomes, simplifying the decision-making process. Now, if you take a look below, we have these output generated for these prompts. And in this example of these, that is based on these HR policies, you can see that the response to the prompt comes with this confidence score, which aims at giving you an indication of the reliability and accuracy of the generated answer, enabling you to assess and trust the blueprint output. Now, let's move to the next aspects on these dimensions, which are human oversight, monitoring, and technical documentation. So for human oversight, let me go back to this output here for this prompt, and you can take a look at these citations that are provided by DataRobot. This feature really enables human review of the generated responses and the associated citations, facilitating the understanding of whether the content is derived from the underlying vector database or is autonomously generated by the foundational model. So this offers a straight way to monitor and verify the information sources the AI relies on. And when it comes to monitoring, now let me go to the console over here, because there's several things in which we can help you. So you can monitor your Gen AI workflows in multiple ways. One of the main things that you want to make sure that things are working properly is regarding whether the flow is healthy. So inspecting service health is going to help you with that. You can also monitor drift for Gen AI deployments. Oops, sorry. At the risk of doing live demo, I guess. There we go. You can monitor also drift for Gen AI deployments. So you can take a look at specific words, terms that are used in prompts or responses, and you can compare them with a particular data set for drift. On custom metrics over here, you're going to be able to track guard model scores like hallucination detection or confidence score. And DataRobot really simplifies the creation of custom metrics with ready-to-use templates that you can leverage for your Gen AI deployments. So by selecting a template and assigning it to the deployment, DataRobot is really going to automate the entire process, the scheduling and executing the necessary jobs so that you can integrate these metrics like word count, toxicity, token means, and many more effortlessly. You can also track human feedback, and as you can see over here. This really enables seamless tracking and integration of user feedback into the system. So through DataRobot metric, feedback is directly linked to specific data entries, allowing for efficient fine-tuning and scenario testing with DataRobot notebooks or job functions that I'm going to cover soon. This process really leverages real user insights to refine and improve your prompt engineering flows. Additionally, you have the option of exporting the data from DataRobot, which is not only going to provide access to predictions and completions, but also includes all the associated human feedback, ensuring a comprehensive overview for further analysis and enhancement. And for technical documentation, any Gen AI deployment is going to have available a deployment report. So this report is really gonna contain key information. Let me show you one here. Basically, deployment ID, the model package, and all the details of service health and custom metrics over time will be highlighted in this automated report. The last areas of these dimensions were risk management and comprehensive compliance. So to start with, let me draw your attention here to this level of importance on this Gen AI deployment. We can see that it says moderate. So this has been assigned by using our role-based approvals. Approvals really help with risk management so that you can query your deployments and get a response back saying it has not been approved, which enables you to automate things safely. Another aspect that is going to be very useful when doing risk management is going to be jobs and scenario testing. So this is really going to allow you to test scenarios. And for red teams, this is going to be very relevant because you can run them very easily. For example, in this case, I have run a prompt injection test. And here you can use the prompt injection datasets. Some of them have been released by OpenAI, but there's many others. And I can quickly through them run these scenarios against a deployment that is already made or a model that we're just calling in terms of prompt engineering the playground. So very useful to see how things will act in real life and to really test the system. Another aspect that is crucial for risk management is going to be cost tracking. So that is also going to be possible to track through custom metrics. Basically, what you will do here is easily calculate these by seeing the number of tokens and then use it to calculate the cost that is expected for the consumption of this LLM. Once again, another key aspect of risk management. Okay, now let me switch gears to go over how do we help when it comes to predictive AI. And let's go over also the same dimensions that these regulations are covering. So to start with, let's go over data. We go back here. Okay, so having high quality data sets requires managing them properly, right? And that is what you can do for each use case through Workbench. You can bring your data directly from any of the multiple connections that we have available, like a Snowflake, BigQuery, Databricks, AWS, and many more, and manage the data sets linked to your use case and access exploratory data insights. Now, data integrity and quality are cornerstones for creating highly accurate predictive models. So DataRobot also is going to provide tools and visualizations to ensure that your project doesn't suffer from the garbage in, garbage out outcome. And DataRobot wrangling capabilities give you the ability also to prepare data and engineer features in real time, reducing time from data to the model. So in this case, I have already a recipe with some of the different common tasks that you will do when you're trying to prepare your data, but I can add many more features, compute new features, find and replace different values, deduplicate rows. All of these is very easy to make with data wrangling capabilities. Let me quit this. Okay, now let's talk about building robust and accurate predictive systems. So one of the things that I love about DataRobot is its guardrails, because they are applied to ensure adherence to data science best practices when creating AI models and applications. Some examples of these guardrails you can find here on the experiment information are going to be, for example, using the most appropriate metric based on your data and the target of your use case, or leveraging cross-validation, holdouts, external data sets, the feature list that you're going to use, tracking for data drift. All of these different guardrails are added in our platform and are going to have your back. When it comes to model evaluation, DataRobot's leaderboard show you all the models that are built for your experiment, and they are going to be ranked by performance to help you with quick model evaluation. And from the leaderboard, you can click a model and then access visualizations like the ROC curve, its confusion metric, or the leaf chart in order to further assess how well the model is performing. On model comparison, in this tab, really allows you to compare up to 3 different models from any number of experiments within a single use case. And over here, once again, you will be able to compare the leaf chart, the ROC curve, feature impact to understand what features drive predictions for each of these models, and further accuracy metrics. Furthermore, if I scroll down on the model lineage, you can find information that provides metadata of the model selected for comparison. So through it, you can gather the details of model training, input like data set, features, feature lists, experiment settings. You can also take a look and inspect different model blueprints of these models, and also find further performance information about the model. Now let's go over technical documentation, human oversight, and monitoring capabilities. So for technical documentation, DataRobot automates many critical compliance tasks that are associated with developing a model. You can generate for any of these models an individual document to provide comprehensive guidance on what constitutes effective model risk management. From here, you can download the report as an editable Microsoft Word document. And the generated report, it's going to really include appropriate level of information and transparency that is needed by regulatory compliance demands, providing documentation that the model is working as intended, that is appropriate for its intended purpose, and that is conceptually sound. So the time that it takes to generate these documents in comparison to how you will do it manually is just priceless. When it comes to human oversight, let me go back to the experiment here. And you can gather different model insights for each of these models on the leaderboard, right? So, inspecting feature impact to see which features are really driving the predictions of this model, or inspecting feature effects, or prediction explanations. All of these are really going to help you interpret and explain and validate what drives the model's predictions, and can help you inform what to do next in your experiment and explain why the decisions have been made. Also, when it comes to predictive AI, you can also leverage the approval workflow that we saw in generative AI. Let me quickly go over here. So as you can see in this case, for this predictive workshop, a predictive deployment, I also have an importance level that has been defined. And importance really represents an aggregate of factors relevant to your organization, such as the prediction volume of the deployment, the level of exposure, its potential social or financial impact, and more. And once the deployment is created, the MLOps admins are alerted that the deployment requires CPU so that they can act upon this alert. Any of our deployments as well will have monitoring alerts and notifications that you can leverage to make sure that you are always informed when things are not working properly, so that you can take action. Now, when it comes to further monitoring these deployments, sorry, let me go back to this. From the console, where you have all this dashboard, which is a central hub for the deployment management activity, from there you can access each of these deployments. And then from here, you're going to be able to identify potential issues before they impact business operation. Monitoring is really going to range from different aspects, especially service health, which is going to be helpful in order to provide information about the reliability of the model. Are things working properly? Are the predictions really timely? As well as other aspects. For example, you're going to be able to monitor model accuracy based on the data distribution, or you're also going to be able to monitor accuracy over time to see if your model performance is decaying. Another aspect that matters for the regulation is going to be having access to logins for audits. So you can find really all the deployments available, governance logs and details in this section of overview, including an audit trail for any deployment approval policies that have been triggered for the deployment. And once again, you'll have available the deployment reports that really allow you to have information compiling deployment status, charts, and overall quality into a shareable report. Lastly, I'm going to go over how we help you with risk management and comprehensive compliance in predictive systems. So first of all, for any of the assets that you're going to be building in DataRobot, you're going to have a role-based access control. So you're able to leverage these role-based permissions and role-role relationships that make it simple to assign the appropriate permissions for users depending on how they need to interact with the use case assets. Also, as part of the monitoring aspects of a deployment, you can leverage the fairness monitoring, which really allows your model to monitor and recognize in real time when any protected feature in the data set has failed to meet predefined fairness conditions. Let's see, it's calculating right now. Let's give it a second. I really want to show you this. I'll come back to this, but this is calculating it. Quickly, let me go over the mitigation options that we have, starting with our retraining policies. You can also maintain model performance after deployment, creating retraining policies based on a schedule or based on a metrics threshold. Also, you can compare model performance post-deployment with challenger models. This allows you to compare the predictions to the currently deployed model or your champion to determine if there is a superior model that would be a better fit for your system. And finally, in humility, we can really monitor deployments to recognize in real time when the deployed model makes uncertain predictions or receives data that it has not seen before. So as you can see, it's a very comprehensive set of different features on this end-to-end life cycle of managing AI solutions that we can help you with. With that, Lisa, let me go back to you to see if there's any questions that we can cover. I'm going to quickly check if it's finished. Not yet, but okay. I'll give it back to you.
No problem. We have a lot of questions, actually.
Awesome.
It's very healthy dialogue here. So I'm going to start off with some of the first ones. So apologies all. If you are typing in questions, keep typing them in. If we don't address all of your questions here on this call, we'll stay on with you. As long as you all have time, we'll stay on with you. We want to be respectful of your time, though, so we will cut it off at some point. But we will respond back directly to you and make sure you have an answer to your questions, because this is a very important topic. There are some questions about these regulations applying to predictive versus generative. I know, Belen, you spent the first part of the demo, you spent showing the generative, but can you make sure that we're talking about what parts of the regulatory requirements actually apply to predictive as well? Do they apply the same way?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in general, the very same aspects or categories are affecting if it is a high risk use case, no matter if it is generative or predictive, the same type of categories and principles need to be complied, right? So when it's grounded on the use case, whether it's generative or predictive, same rules are going to apply. Saying that, there's a specific section of the EU AI Act that covers general purpose AI, where there's a specific regulations for foundational models. But if you ground it through the use cases, once again, all these things are covered.
Great. There's a question here, and Ming-Li, I don't know if you want to take this one, or Belen. Does this regulations apply to use cases that are being worked on, but are not necessarily implemented in the EU?
I'll take this one. So there is a very wide scope of application. but this applies on AI systems that are put on the EU market or that are affected individual located in the EU. So this is specifically for models that would be implemented in the EU. But what I still recommend you is that you reach out to your legal advisor for confirmation of this question.
Yeah, and this is where oversight of governance applies not just to your models once they're in production, it applies to oversight of your projects in production. And that's a little trickier as well. So you do want to start looking at having a system of record of the use cases that you are having in your organization. DataRobot does make that easy. So you can build how you want, code, non-code, your favorite notebook using DataRobot and API. We will categorize all the projects and the use cases. Everyone gets to use them, but you have a system of record of all of your projects in flight. That way you're making sure as an AI leader, it's your responsibility to ultimately ensure that the use cases your teams are working with are the right ones. And that's hard to do if you don't actually have full visibility across your entire AI landscape. So I will just say that. Ming-Li, this may be another one for you. This is someone from Dubai in particular. I know that you spend a lot of time with a lot of our big customers in Dubai as well. Any insights into this region in terms of regulations that you see maybe coming down the pipeline or that are starting to happen?
So I don't know the details of the regulation that will come to Dubai, but for what is certain is that all the countries have started to have a deeper look into the AI regulations, and the guiding principles that are underneath all the regulations are very similar. It's focusing on responsible AI, it's focusing on ethical AI, and so the deeper dive we did in the EU regulation, it will be implemented differently in every country, but the high-level principles will be most likely the same in every national regulation.
Great. We have a subtle version of this one. I think you already answered this, Ming-Li, so please elaborate. Their question was, does the EU Act apply to use cases that are actually being worked on the soil of EU countries, but not implemented in the EU? I would say this is a very tricky one. You definitely want to work with your legal teams on this one, but Ming-Li, any thoughts on this?
So as of the legislation, it applies on use cases that are implemented in the EU. So for use cases that are not implemented in the EU, again, check with your legal advisor, but it seems like the AI regulation might not be applicable on these ones.
Great. There's a question about DataRobot, Belen, from the demo. How does DataRobot actually get turned into a Gen AI application? You saw the build aspects of it. So what are the variety of ways that it can be done? Is it pure API based? Is it orchestration like LangChain that sends prompts and responses? I know we have a variety of different ways, so I'll let you take this one.
We do have a variety, yeah, certainly. I mean, certainly once you have a Gen AI deployment, interacting with it via the REST API is one of the easiest ways in order to integrate in any app framework, Streamlit or not. You have to stay tuned because our next release is going to have easy integrations, for example, with the Streamlit apps, which I'm very excited personally. But via API, it's very straightforward as well. We also host custom apps, and we have as well our non-code apps that can help you with that. So yeah, those are some of the ways in which we can streamline the process of really getting the last mile of consumption of the outputs of these LLMs in applications.
And not just in applications like a traditional Streamlit app, you can actually integrate your generative AI application with DataRobot into things like Slack or Microsoft Teams, because that's a chat experience. We do have customers that have done that. Unlike LangChain, think of this as an enterprise-grade pipeline. So you can hot swap any components out, vector databases, LLMs. We want to update your knowledge base, no problem. The entire enterprise pipeline is completely hardened for you. So you're also not having to deal with any changes that are happening. LangChain is updating and it's breaking everything downstream. So it really makes it much more enterprise grade with all the governance aspects around there. Another question on DataRobot, any starter blueprints for this layer of defense? I know, Belen, you talked about some of these resources earlier before you did your demo.
Sorry, could you repeat that one?
The starter kind of blueprints and things like that for a layered governance defense with DataRobot.
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, we, as I shared, for experimentation, you have out-of-the-box LLMs available from GPT models, AWS, models from Google, from different. Also, you can bring your own models. Like I have personally brought, like for example, custom models from Cohere in order to test them within the very same interaction. And on top of that, you have all the guard models that I show you that are coming from Hugging Face that are really going to help you to monitor things like toxicity, hallucinations, sentiment, refusal scores, and much more. So all of those are available, and you can very easily bring them into your Gen AI workflows through DataRobot.
And then I will talk about this at the end as a thank you. We do have governance programs and policies that we can help you with. We've done it with many highly regulated industries. So if you are looking for one, I think there's 2 questions in here. The blueprint for this layer defense, we have it. We can help work with you on it. And how do you enable Gen AI governance from the ground up? That is definitely something that organizations don't have a skill set with. Generative AI was brand new. Luckily, we do have the baseline platform and we have been doing this. So you are more than welcome to reach out to us and we can talk to you about how we actually do that and the steps you can take to ensure that you're building sound governance from the ground up. I'm glad you're doing it from the ground up as well. So many people think of this as an afterthought. So good on you for being proactive about this. Okay, there's questions about the LLM providers being available inside of DataRobot. We've got a couple of questions here around similar. So can fine-tuned models be used inside of it and then used to build generative AI apps, as well as other open source models like Llama, Mistral, or others. So Mingli, do you want to take this one?
Yes, so as you saw in the demo, you have the menu where you have some LLMs that are already provided on the shelf. You can also have your custom LLM. And in one of the next release, maybe you've heard that we are having a partnership with NVIDIA as well. So you have a lot of companies that wants to rely on their on-prem LLM as well. It's something that you will be able to do and to incorporate into your generative AI blueprint as well. And you will be able also to, if you have several, to still use the comparison tab that Belen was showing and be able to try different experimentation and assess which one makes most sense and highlight this to the regulator, showing that you've done your due diligence on the evaluation of the different experimentations.
Great, thank you. We have a question on the openness of our platform in terms of how open is it. So there are a couple of questions on what about building in different tools? Yeah, teams are using their different tools. Can they take advantage of DataRobot's registration, governance, console policies? And then there was another question like this. So I'm going to group those 2 together. So thank you for asking. Can we include all of that documentation, reporting, and monitoring across different AI assets so you have an enterprise view of everything in your org? So Belen, I don't know if you want to take this one.
Yeah, for sure. So for the first part, definitely the way in which DataRobot integrates at different moments of time with multiple platforms is very flexible, right? From where you're bringing your data, as I show, like if your data is in Snowflake, in Databricks, in AWS, there's so many ways to bring the data and direct integrations, right? That is for the part of ingesting data, but also when you're thinking about the deployment part, our deployment options are very flexible. You can directly deploy with us in our own managed environment, but you can also deploy DataRobot models in your own managed environment and external environment. We can also take custom models and deploy them through us. Or if you already have models that have been deployed in an external environment, we can connect via a model agent in order to start tracking it. So very, very flexible ways and a lot of integrations so that, you know, the process is more easy, seamless. We definitely don't want to hook you to a specific tech stack. We're really flexible and depending where you are operating, will help you connect and leverage our platform in the best way.
Exactly. So the registration portal that Belen said, anyone can check in their generative or predictive model inside of there. That's that really nice place to baton pass off between your team that's developing and your team that actually needs to implement and operate. You'll have all the testing, the validation, you'll have all of that history and be able to track it. And then with the console, think of it as your command and control center. So complete 360-degree visibility, independent on your environment. Because we know many of you have multiple clouds or on-prem. So think of this as your cross-cloud hybrid view of your entire AI landscape. And it gives you a very unified ability to apply uniformed security and governance policies across all of your AI assets. And that's really critical, especially as regulations come into place. You don't want to have to depend on each team building it out slightly different. That's going to be very difficult for you as you scale AI. Okay, we are at the top of the hour. I know we are well over time. I'll do a couple of rapid fire quick questions here. Does the EU AI Act apply to use cases built with open source tooling, Ming Li? Yes or no?
Yes.
Perfect. Belen, are these models hosted inside a DataRobot, the LLMs that you showed? Yes or no?
They can, yeah.
Great. And then the last one, because we do keep getting asked this question, is the deck going to be shared after the session in this recording? Absolutely. Let me just do one quick screen share on slides and resources that are available to you. You can go and see a personal deep dive demo if you have more questions about our governance and observability aspects. We encourage you to do that. If you're really trying to get started on your governance and you're trying to sharpen it up, we have a ton of experts. We work with some of the biggest financial organizations, and we work in highly regulated organizations, including federal. That was a question there. So we can help you. Just reach out and we can talk to you more. Thank you all for all of your time. You hung with us, so we appreciate it. And we will chat with you later. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.